My name is Tyler Powell, and I'm the CEO of Five Pharmaceuticals. My team and I are excited to be at the forefront of the emerging pharmaceutical, psilocybin, and controlled substance market, with a go-public path set to launch in the fall 2020. The brand Five Pharmaceuticals represents our focus on the 5 key controlled substances, being ketamine, psilocybin, MDMA, DMT, and mescaline, under our 5 corporate branches, which are sciences, pharmaceuticals, labs, research, and clinical trials. I'd like to introduce our fellow team members who are on this call, of which I believe Arron, Mr. Victory, you can see, and the other 2 are on audio only. They're in transit today. So we have Dr. Arron Victory, who is our Chief Science Officer and head of our Research and Development Compartment, Dr. Peter Tomlinson, who's our Chief Medical Officer and head of our Clinical Trials and GMP certification, and Mr. Arron Victory, our Director of Veteran Affairs and Liaison of our Wellness Center Partnership. Each member of our management team have unique skill sets and, once assembled, create a trailblazing pharmaceutical company locked and loaded to be one of the first Canadian public companies to execute clinical trials in the psilocybin sector. I will now introduce our team and to further break down their compartments and accolades and follow up with a corporate summary, our go public strategy, and our raise. So without further ado, please meet Dr. Arron Victory.
Hello, everyone. Appreciate you joining us today. My name is Dr. Arron Victory. I've been working in the medicinal plants and mushroom sector for the last 20 years, and pretty much anything that smells good is medicinal or of industrial value. Had the opportunity to work with that. Started several pharmaceutical companies and gotten to work for some just amazing companies all over the world. And I'm just really excited to have the opportunity to be able to innovate with these amazing central nervous system compounds. There's a lot of good that we can do in the world with them. Thanks.
Okay, great. And then we have our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Peter Tomlinson. I'm hoping he's on board right now. I know he's in transit literally right now, so it might be Peter's in transit right now. If we can't get a hold of him, and anyone has any questions that are technical regarding the clinical trials aspect, please wait till the Q&A round, and we'll do our best to answer those via email with our technical aspect when Dr. Tomlinson gets back on board.
Hi, everyone. My name's Arron Victory. I'm currently the Director of Veteran Relations for ReLeave. It's a veteran-focused telemedicine platform for medical cannabis by Shoppers Drug Mart. So I'll just speak to a little about my viewpoint for a little bit of forward looking in terms of Canadian veterans and psychedelic treatments. So for Canadian veterans who have deployed in either peacekeeping or combat operations, about 10% of those will develop PTSD or related symptoms, according to the latest data from Veterans Affairs Canada and StatsCan. The numbers for treatment-resistant depression and chronic pain are even more bleak. I truly believe there's a gap that psychedelics can fill in terms of treatment for veterans in Canada. These are people that have already been down the road of pharmaceuticals to treat their conditions and are very much searching for something else more traditional to gain some relief. So I think that's been anecdotally proven by the almost 14,000 veterans that currently avail of the Veterans Affairs Cannabis Reimbursement Program, where they treat a myriad of symptoms with a plant-based medicine. So I think that with changes in the regulatory landscape and more trials, evidence-based research happening in the space, it's not too far-fetched to believe that Canadian veterans could have blanket insurer coverage, just as they do for medical cannabis, in a Health Canada regulated environment. So when that becomes a reality, Five Pharmaceuticals is strategically positioned ourselves to be the market leader in that specific niche. We have pre-established relationships and LOIs with groups specializing in a multidisciplinary approach to veteran healthcare, and I think that that is going to be the difference between Five Pharmaceuticals and some other companies out there who are focusing on the veteran space as a niche, where we've been looking at this for quite some time. My background is in veterans advocacy as well as in medical cannabis. I don't think that it's going to be a direct pivot from medical cannabis to psychedelics, but I believe there's definitely some similarities there. And as I said, Five Pharmaceuticals has some real tangible value to offer on that front. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Arron. Dr. Tomlinson, are you on board?
I'm still here if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can. I can hear you much clearer now.
Sorry for all the technical difficulties. Anyway, so my background is pharmaceuticals, pharmaceutical new product development. For the last 20 years, I've had my own consulting to help small biotech, help small pharmaceutical companies take new products into very, very strong background. 3 to 4 years, I've also been recruited into the cannabis sector. And I helped one of the major Canadian-based cannabis companies get several clinical trials going in different therapeutic areas. So I have a very strong background in taking new products into clinical trials, and I'm very excited about this opportunity. I'm also a qualified person under EU regulations and have helping meet EU GMP requirements with respect to their operations. And I've done this with 2 different cannabis operations in Canada so that they can fully exploit the global market for their products. So very strong background in clinical trials, very strong background in EU GMPs. I mean, I'm also very familiar with FDA and Health Canada GMPs. So I feel as though I can very significantly contributed about.
Thanks, Dr. Tomlinson. We caught there was a few words that were missed out of that conversation. I hope that was relayed to everyone logged in. I'll give a quick overview now after you met our team of our unique objective, as well as a bit of our go public route and our current raise situation, and then we'll walk through the deck quickly. The nice part that is you'll have the final version of that deck in your inboxes, I believe Monday or Tuesday, early next week, so you can see it firsthand. After the quick review here, you can actually do that in your inbox. So the most important thing about this is how Five Pharmaceutical is unique, and the IP with several emerging companies in the sector with similar paths to market. And what sets us apart, partnerships. So in our Veteran Affairs Pain Management PTSD division is absolutely paramount to the success of our company. That really makes us stand alone and be unique, as well as our relationship with Biopharma, which is our CRO based out of Toronto, where we will house our first responders and veterans for the clinical trials. They're a very unique outfit. There's very few companies in Canada that will handle that and house that in CROs. There's a lot of companies that talk about it, but they will actually execute on that. We have scheduling preparing for early fall 2020 for our first round of clinical trials. Our unique IP formulations and extraction methods and delivery methods from our R&D team and Dr. Likos. Our team's history of building GMP pharmaceutical grade laboratories, which we'll implement on our target 5,600 square foot warehouse in Vancouver, Canada. We put an offer on that warehouse last week. We expect to have that closed the following week, as well as a partnership with 6 wellness centers across Western Canada that will sell exclusively or provides exclusively product from Five Pharma once licensed and able to produce that product. As well as part of the caveat on our public market side is our extraordinarily tight structure and ability to run the company like a lean tech startup. We've seen the mistakes made by cannabis companies and some of the first to market psilocybin companies with really poor share structures. I can elaborate a little bit more about that later, but that's a very exciting part of what differentiates us from the rest of the market by a landslide. And our go public route, we've entered an agreement, a binding agreement with an acquisition company, which already has housing 150 shareholders. It's ready for a direct listing on the Canadian Securities Exchange, or CSE. We plan immediately to do our secondary listings on the Frankfurt Exchange, as well as the OTCQB, to have a U.S. listing as well. Our attorney, who is our mergers and acquisition specialist, Mr. Dennis Silva, who's a partner at DLA Piper. He's also an advisory board on our team, is working tirelessly on getting our prospectus finished and drafted as well in parallel with our definitive agreement. We expect that prospectus to be filed in the next 2 to 3 weeks, hopefully leaning towards 2 because we began it on Monday this week, with a goal to go to public roughly 3 to 4 months, which has been confirmed by the CSC just out of Toronto's mergers office, barring any hiccups, which tend to happen in that cases. But we believe we can be on the earlier part of that 3 to 5. And as of today, we we announced our first seed round financing roughly about 4 business days ago. 75% of the seed round is spoken for. We're raising $500,000 at 10 cents with a full warrant at 20 cents. Like I mentioned, there's 75% of that's filled. We already have interest for some of the big institutions here locally in Vancouver, from Haywood and Canaccord, on potentially participating in that 25-cent round with a 50-cent full warrant. I'll go into a little bit more about the details of the actual share structure of the go public route and the final structure in the deck here, which I will get to next. And excuse me if I mess up this a little bit, but I'm trying to work through on the deck to get to the slides here. After the slide deck, we'll do a Q&A round. Love to hear from everybody participating on this, and feel free to ask any questions. And between the team here, I'm sure we can answer everything we've got that you can fire at us. So I'll kick off the deck here. Pat, if you can let me know if there's anything that I'm missing, or if there's anything to slow down, just let me know, please. Obviously, first slides are a presentation. Second slide was a disclaimer. We're good on that front. Third is just a path to market. So Five Pharmaceuticals, who we are. So slide 4, Pat. As discussed, I mean, our mission is to be one of the first publicly traded Canadian pharmaceutical-grade psilocybin companies specialized in R&D and clinical trials with a GMP and ISO standards. There's a lot of companies out there right now that are talking about clinical trials, and very few that are actually executing or have the ability to execute because they don't have access to the right CROs or the academies to run those trials. And that's something that I believe makes us very unique and put us on the forefront. We mentioned before about where the Five brand comes from. Next slide, please. So the corporate statements, this is very important for us. Our license mission, everything's done to Health Canada standard. We've hired a gentleman that has the best track record for cannabis licensing, and actually not just cannabis, controlled substance licensing in Canada, with Trichrome Consulting. And they have been working hand in hand with us for the last several months to prepare all of our paperwork in order. So the moment we acquire the property here in Vancouver, we can tie our clinical trials license and our research and development license to that location under the Section 56.1 controlled substance exemptions. So that's our first license mission, is to do everything Health Canada standard, with the goal then to be filing our Section 9 once we build our relationship, but I'll touch more on that a little later. The organic vision. Because of our research and development, because Dr. Lekos' background and formulations and extraction, we really want to show the world that the synthetic component is not necessarily the way of the future. That single molecule, it will help certain mental disorders and depression, and there's going to be aspects that will help. But we believe that the right formulations of organic compounds will take us to the next level, of which those we will be able to register the IP. So once those are confirmed and the success is there, we can move forward in that sector protected. And in the verified strategy, as Dr. Tomlinson mentioned, we are building everything to a pharmaceutical GMP compliance, and we will be handling everything from a licensing standpoint of the strictest, to make sure that we're able to have the resale, commercial resale and distribution down the road. We don't want to handcuff ourselves at an early stage by, making any mistakes out the gates. We've recently worked with some prefab companies that are GMP's guaranteed standard for our lab build out. I'll touch a little bit more on that as well later, but as it stands right now, our timeline to build that lab would be very quick. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. And we'll go to the next slide here. The Canada's health landscape. I mean, I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know. Everyone in this group, I'm sure, has a family member or friend or themselves suffer in some case from depression or PTSD or some sort of a disorder. And I mean, the numbers are staggering. The numbers just don't lie. That we understand there's a problem, and the next slide shows our solution. So we are the solution. We aim to be at the forefront of the medical psilocybin market and for other controlled substances. We want to be very clear that our company is a pharmaceutical company, and we are very differentiated from the psilocybin deals and mushroom companies in this space. And I believe that's a shortfall from a lot of companies out there, that they don't have the pharmaceutical know-how to execute a pharmaceutical standpoint and lab and have the GMP certification to take the company to the next level. So as you can see here on the numbers, I mean, again, they're staggering. It's hundreds of millions of people worldwide. If we can even help 1% of what the people in Canada alone, I mean, that's would be an astronomical accomplishment.